All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, I'm Stephanie Dahl with Dahl Fisher. And what Kelly and I wanted to do today was to talk about kind of the state of the courts and what is happening with criminal law, with family law. So my partner, Kelly Fisher, is on, as well as a wonderful and incredible family law attorney, Kelly Ryder-Goodwin, to talk about what is happening with the criminal courts and cases being set, jury trials, people picking up new cases, as well as family law courts, people filing for divorce, child custody issues, things like that. So Kelly Fisher, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll have Kelly Ryder-Goodwin.
Sure. I am Stephanie's partner, and I specialize in criminal defense work, which ranges from everything from like traffic tickets, DUI, drug possession, assaults, domestic violence, all of those kinds of things, misdemeanors and felonies.
Wonderful. Kelly.
Hi there. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Kelly Ryder-Goodwin. I am the owner of Ryder-Goodwin Law Offices, where we exclusively practice family law. And family law can be a big spectrum, but what my office specifically does is we do divorce and child custody cases, as well as we represent individuals in protection orders. And that could be starting a new case, a divorce or custody case, or modifying court orders, or kind of anywhere in between. So that's what we do.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for chatting with me. Kelly Ryder-Goodwin, tell me what is happening right now. Everybody is in shelter in place. So what is happening with family law? Are the courts even open? What's happening?
Yeah, of course. And we are getting this question all the time, all day, every day. The short answer is that they are sort of open. So they are really operating on a skeleton staff. And so they are still accepting new filings electronically, but they're also open for emergencies. So there's a big spectrum of what that is. And I know Kelly Fisher is going to talk a little bit about what criminal emergencies are still open. But from a family law perspective, they're still open to accept filings for a protection order and then follow the procedures for that. They're also open to filing what's called an emergency motion to restrict parenting time, and then whatever the procedure is for that. And then they're also open for emergency motions for abduction prevention measures. And that's really when you don't really have any court orders and someone is threatening to flee the state with a minor child. So they're sort of open. And then also we can still electronically file, lawyers can, and then there's 6 counties in the state, 2 of which are in the Denver metro area, that are accepting pro se or unrepresented electronic filing. So again, the short answer is they're sort of open.
Gotcha. Okay. And Kelly Fisher, what are the criminal courts doing? Are they open?
Sure. The criminal courts are very similar to what Kelly Ryder-Goodwin just said, meaning they are kind of open. There are emergency hearings that they're allowing to happen right now. Every judge, my experience has been, is a little bit different as far as their definition of what's an emergency. Something that's a little bit different than family law is that there are constitutional rights at play when you talk about criminal cases. So generally speaking, if a defendant is in custody, the courts are working to try and get those cases heard, whether it's in person or electronically by video. There's also some interesting issues coming up as far as jury trials and speedy trial. Currently, my understanding is there is actually an issue that's going up before the Supreme Court right now, talking about whether the pandemic and the shelter-in-place orders constitute a valid basis in and of itself to continue trials beyond the normal speedy trial periods. Because every court is a little bit different, because every judge is a little bit different, it's important that you contact a lawyer or contact your attorney to figure out if you're supposed to be in court or not. Judges are being a little bit more forgiving, I think, in terms of warrants and either staying the issuance of those warrants or reinstating bonds if you miss a court date, but nonetheless, the requirements are still that you need to be in court in all likelihood unless you hear differently from your lawyer or from court staff at this point in time.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wanting to jump in. Sorry about that. I completely echo what Kelly Fisher's saying about each county is different, and sometimes each judge within the same county is operating differently than their colleague next door. And for us, they really have almost vacated everything till May 1st. They're still doing a little bit of telephone status conferences of things like that. But, you know, I just wanted to, Kelly reminded me a little bit of something to say as it relates to how different the judges are being. And it would be nice to have some direction from the Supreme Court about what we're supposed to be doing.
It would be nice. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And Kelly Ryder Goodwin, you mentioned that the courts are sort of open for kind of these emergency hearings and things like that. But what if somebody is contemplating filing divorce? Can they still proceed at this time? Are they having to wait until that May 1 or June 1 kind of benchmark? What's happening in that world?
We too are getting this question too, and there really is almost a thought that people can't do anything. And I would really challenge that now is actually the time to do something. Kelly Fisher is completely right that we have different requirements and process than the criminal case. There are constitutional implications in family law, but they're certainly not to the level of criminal cases. We all need to readjust our expectations. And one of those is that your case will last longer. And so all the more reason to start now. There's free judicial forums online, and you can even engage a lawyer, and maybe you don't want to hire, or let me say it another way, maybe you don't want to file until you're actually physically separated, because the shelter in place, it's really difficult to physically separate. But you can start all the process and get all your paperwork ready to file. In addition to, you're going to have to collect financial documents and do a lot of things that we're going to have to do anyway. But if you start doing that stuff now, being proactive, it actually will help mitigate some of the lengthening of your case. But the reality is your case is going to last longer. And so it's going to probably last even that much longer if you wait until May or June or July. It's really to your advantage and really your kids' advantage for you to start doing stuff now. You won't get it all done, but you can start those tasks and that process now.
So somebody who is contemplating divorce can contact you, get everything ready to go without paperwork being filed and then having to stay in the same home with somebody when it's, a little probably very awkward. And so they can get everything ready to go, be ready without kind of anyone any the wiser if that's their choice.
100%. And what's really great is over the last 12 months, the state of Colorado has really tried to create or remove a lot of the barriers to access to justice. And one of those was getting involved with a notary. So before, when you had to file your paperwork, all your paperwork had to be notarized. Well, they removed that definitely this year and even maybe a little bit before the new year. So we can really do stuff all through DocuSign safely and securely, where we're doing virtual meetings and things like that, where we can, yes, get all the paperwork signed, ready to go. And whenever you are ready to file, then we just electronically file it. So yeah, we can definitely do things. The other thing too is there's a lot of questions about where you're at, like funds and like retaining a lawyer and things like that. And the important piece to know, and this is true for other areas of law, including criminal, is that you can have a third party, a family or friend, help pay for your attorney's fees. And it doesn't breach the privilege or the confidentiality between the client and the lawyer. And you also don't have to tell your spouse that you're doing this. So there are things that you can do to still minimize the awkwardness, even though you've made a decision to move forward.
Gotcha. And Kelly Fisher, in terms of, while the criminal courts aren't open for a lot of the day-to-day stuff that is going forward, tell me a little bit, if somebody has a case, let's say they have a court date set for June 1, what can they be, should they wait until May 20th to hire their lawyer to get ready to go? Or what can you be doing now from a criminal standpoint as their attorney?
So what I would say about that is the courts, I expect, are going to see a terrible backlog because of whatever delay is caused by the current shelter-in-place orders. So right now, for most of my clients who are set, let's say, in mid-April and early May, I'm getting court settings that are now looking like late June and early July, which is fine, except there are new cases being filed, which means more court appearances that they're going to have to fit in. And for lawyers, what that generally means is that the sooner you can talk to a lawyer, even if we're not going to appear in court for another month or 45 days, it can be calendared properly, or I can go in and file the appropriate paperwork to get a court date moved. The difficulty I foresee happening is that the dockets are going to get really, really full and crowded. And attorneys, private attorneys, only have so much space and so much ability to go to different jurisdictions, and obviously can't be in 2 places at once. So the sooner you can get a lawyer on board, the sooner we can work out that scheduling. And just like Kelly Ryder Goodwin said, you know, there is some advantage at times to getting your case resolved quickly because you don't want it hanging over your head. But in order to do that, it also requires that we try and get you into court. I can get the police reports now, even though the courts are not open, and start working on cases. The DA's offices are open, although they are also largely working from home, but they will communicate by email and other means so that we can start that negotiation process earlier as well. So I would say the sooner the better if you think that there is a criminal case pending that you need to get resolved.
So it sounds like if somebody can hire you now, you can review all the discovery, you can have conversations with them, conversations with the DA. So if potentially you were going to reach some sort of disposition, you could do that day one when you walk into court rather than starting the clock on day one.
Absolutely. That would be the goal if that's in the best interest of the client. You know, sometimes it's not in the best interest of the client to expedite things. It just kind of depends. But if that's important, then that is something we can start working on right away.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit, because we're talking with our clients and different things. Kelly Ryder Goodwin, are you guys meeting with clients? How are you doing it? What are you doing to facilitate that with your clients?
Yeah, so for the health and safety of both of our team and our clients, I close our office before the shelter in place to really outside visitors. And so we've been operating for now, I think we're now in the 4th week of operating remotely. So what that means is that we're doing a lot of telephone calls as well as we're doing Zoom meetings. And we're constantly checking in with our clients. We already are pretty cloud-based as a firm anyway. And so what that means is we have secured systems. And so we all have access to all of the systems, both from an internal, just a processing system, but also externally as well. So we are, the only real difference, honestly, is that we're not all in the same place all at the same time. But we're still doing our internal meetings. We're still staffing, relying upon each other for our knowledge and experience on our cases. And then we're meeting with our clients just as much as we would normally, still doing preparation. We're still also doing mediations by Zoom. And we're still doing all of the preparation with our clients before that. So honestly, things haven't changed that much. Except for that, I do think we're getting a little better with technology, which is a nice kind of byproduct of all of this, but we're still just chugging away and representing, advocating for our clients.
Absolutely. And Kelly Fisher, it's fun that I get to ask you this because we're in the same firm, so I know the answer, but what are we doing for our clients in terms of facilitating meetings, talking to district attorneys, all of these things?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if my answer is consistent with what you think we're doing, so we'll see how that goes. We are still up and running. Also, our office building is closed basically to the public. And so that's been a little bit different for us in terms of we generally meet with clients in person. I'm sure that Kelly Ryder Goodwin, you feel the same way. It's important to us that our clients feel comfortable. And part of that is seeing a person face to face and kind of seeing if it's going to be a good working relationship. That being said, certainly we can do video conference calls. We can do telephone calls to do that initial conversation. And then obviously correspondence by email or, however it works best for the client. So we are still up and running, more than happy to talk to people. Just a little bit of an adjustment is all. I should also add the criminal courts, just like the family law courts, are also largely on electronic filing. So that also makes it a lot easier for us to do what we need to do. And then most of the DA's offices are on an electronic discovery system. So there's no need for in-person contact with anybody or driving out to offices to pick up information.
Well, thank you both so much. Is there anything else that either one of you has? And I'll start with Kelly Ryder Goodwin. So when I say Kelly, we don't get everybody confused. But Kelly Ryder Goodwin first, is there anything else you can think of that you want people to know about the state of the courts and kind of what's going on that we haven't covered already?
My only thing is that it's just a general statement is that we're all going to get through this. And I do think, this is an opportunity. And I think one of the great things that's going to come out of this is I would like to think that lawyers were going to be even more client focused and more client and service centered. And, you know, your case will continue, the legal system will continue, and it actually may even continue even more efficiently and better. So that's just kind of a general just positivity statement. So
Absolutely. We can all use a little bit of that.
mm-hmm.
Kelly Fisher, anything that we haven't covered?
I would just echo what Kelly said in terms of, I think this has given all of us as lawyers opportunities to really look at how we're running our offices and running our businesses to make it more efficient, easier for clients to access us. And so moving forward, hopefully we'll be able to take some lessons from all of this and make it better so we can serve our clients better. I will agree with Kelly also, the courts are going to keep going, and particularly in criminal matters. I don't know how that's all going to shake out. You know, some judges get a little bit perturbed when cases get to be too old. And with the way things are going, by definition, their entire docket is going to be old. And so just as I suppose a word of advice to folks is not to think that just because things are kind of at a standstill right now, that judges are just going to ignore the age of your case and give you an indefinite period of time to be prepared to defend yourself properly. So to be proactive about being ready when the courts are ready to see us to get back into court and address things properly and be in a good position as far as that goes.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both very much. Obviously, we will, if you're watching this video, our information is on our Facebook page and everything. We will also post Kelly Ryder Goodwin, the Ryder Goodwin Law Office's information in the comments as well. So if you have any questions, please reach out to either Kelly and they can help you with anything, because I know both of them are available to answer questions, even if you just don't know what direction you should be taking. So thank you both very much for today. I appreciate it. And have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.